My future mother-in-law told me to quit being a pediatric surgeon when I get pregnant, so I exposed her and my fiancé's 3-year plan to steal my house. Now she's serving life for elder fraud, and he's a registered fraud offender. The next morning, I'm sitting at my kitchen table staring at that positive pregnancy test when Louis walks in like he owns the place. He sees what's in my hand, and his whole face changes. Not the reaction you'd expect from someone who supposedly loved me. No, this man gets this calculating look and says we need to discuss custody arrangements. Custody arrangements. For a baby I just found out about 12 hours ago while his mother is still trying to steal my house. I tell him to get out, and he laughs. Actually laughs, saying he's been paying half the utilities for months and getting his mail here, so good luck with that. Then he drops another bomb. He's already talked to a lawyer about his rights as a tenant and as the father. My head is spinning because when did he have time to call a lawyer? It's 8 in the morning. Gail comes downstairs and sees my face. She takes one look at the test in my hand and Louis' smug expression and goes into full protective sister mode. She tells him he needs to leave while we figure things out, but he just walks to the fridge and starts making himself breakfast in my kitchen with my food. He's whistling. The audacity. I call in sick to work for the first time in 3 years because I need to figure out what's happening. Gail and I lock ourselves in my home office and start Googling tenant rights in California. My heart sinks with every article. If he's been getting mail here and paying bills, even if I never asked him to, he might have established residency. The eviction process could take months. While we're researching, I hear Linda's voice downstairs. She's back, in my house, talking to her son about their plans like I'm not even here. I storm down and tell her she's trespassing, but she just smiles that same evil smile and says she's visiting her son in his legal residence. I want to scream. Instead, I do something smarter. I go back upstairs and start going through Louis' things. If he wants to play the legal residence game, fine, but something about this whole situation feels too bland, too convenient. In his laptop bag, I find a folder that makes my blood run cold. Wedding venue contracts, dated 6 weeks before he proposed. 6 weeks. While I was working 18-hour days during a particularly bad flu season, this man was planning our wedding, without me. The venues are all in Ohio, every single one. There's even a deposit receipt for a place called Rustic Barn Elegance. The wedding date? 3 days after what was supposed to be our engagement party. But that's not the worst part. There's a printed email exchange between Louis and Linda. My hands shake as I read. Once we're married, the house becomes community property. California law is very clear on that. Just make sure she doesn't suspect anything until after the ceremony. Linda's response: I've researched it thoroughly. Even if she tries to claim it's separate property, you'll have a strong case after living there for 2 years. The baby will seal the deal. The baby will seal the deal. This email is from 2 months ago. 2 months ago, they were planning to use a baby I didn't even know I'd have to steal my house. I take pictures of everything with my phone. Gail is reading over my shoulder and I can feel her fury radiating. She tells me we need a lawyer immediately, but I have something else to handle first. My boss called while I was reading the emails. 3 times. That's never good. I call him back and he sounds stressed. He asks if I'm okay, says he got a concerning call from someone claiming to be my mother-in-law. My blood freezes. Linda called my work. He says she told him I was planning to quit after my wedding, that I'd already told my family I was done with medicine once I became a proper wife. I explain everything. The surprise wedding, the fake engagement, all of it. My boss listens quietly, then tells me the CEO was impressed with my work, but is now concerned about my commitment. The meeting is tomorrow, and if I want this promotion, I need to prove Linda was lying. I hang up and want to cry. Gail holds me while I shake with rage. These people are trying to take everything from me. My house, my career, my future, and now they want my baby too. The stress is getting to me. I can't keep food down, and the morning sickness is just making it worse. Gail forces me to eat some crackers while we plan our next move. I need to get them out, save my job, and protect myself and this baby. That afternoon, I drive to work to get documentation of my hours, my surgeries, my dedication. My assistant looks worried when she sees me. Apparently Linda called her too, asking about my schedule and when I'd be taking maternity leave. She told Linda nothing, thank God, but mentions it wasn't the first call. Linda had been calling for weeks, pretending to be planning surprise parties or checking on my well-being. I gather 5 years of performance reviews, commendations, and patient letters. The stack is thick. This is my life's work, and I'm not letting anyone take it from me. On the drive home, I stop at a pharmacy and buy prenatal vitamins. Whatever happens, I need to take care of this baby. When I get back, there's a locksmith van in my driveway. Louis is standing there with a locksmith, trying to get the locks changed. On my house. I slam on the brakes and jump out. The locksmith looks uncomfortable as I show him my deed and driver's license. This is my house, I tell him. Only my house. The locksmith apologizes and leaves quickly. Louis starts yelling about his rights, how I can't lock him out of his legal residence. I tell him to stay in the guest room and nowhere else. He smirks and says he'll stay wherever he wants in his home. I'm too exhausted to fight anymore today. That night, I can't sleep. I keep thinking about those emails, about their plan. The baby will seal the deal. How long have they been planning this? Was anything about our relationship real? I touch my stomach and promise this little one that I'll protect us both. The next morning is the CEO meeting. I wear my best suit and bring my documentation folder. Gail drives me because my hands won't stop shaking. The meeting goes well at first. I present my work, my dedication, my plans for the department. Then the CEO mentions the concerning call from my family. I take a deep breath and explain everything. The surprise wedding, the attempt to steal my house, the lies Linda told. I show them my documentation, my consistent attendance, my surgical numbers. I tell them I'm pregnant, but that I've never once let my personal life affect my work, and I never will. The CEO listens carefully, then says something that makes me want to cry with relief. Doctor, name. Anyone who tries this hard to sabotage you must be very threatened by your success. The position is yours if you want it. I leave that meeting feeling like I won something, but the victory is short-lived. When I get home, there's a process server waiting. Louis is filing for formal tenancy rights and custody rights for our unborn child. He's also claiming I've been harassing him and his mother, trying to illegally evict them. The papers shake in my hands. This is really happening. They're really trying to take everything. Gail takes the papers and starts reading through them carefully. She points out inconsistencies, lies about when he started paying bills, claims about verbal agreements we never made. That's when I remember something. I have security cameras. I installed them 2 years ago after a break-in down the street. They record to the cloud. I pull up the footage on my laptop, scrolling back through weeks of recordings. There it is. 3 months ago, Louis carrying in boxes of his stuff. But more importantly, there's audio. Him on the phone with his mother, talking about how he needs to be careful not to contribute too much financially yet, to wait until closer to the proposal. We need to time this right, he says. She can't suspect anything until it's too late. I save everything. Every clip, every conversation caught on camera. There's even footage of Linda from her visits, talking about their plans when she thought I wasn't home. My security system might have just saved me, but the stress is taking its toll. I can barely eat, I'm not sleeping, and the nausea is getting worse. Gail keeps trying to get me to rest. But how can I rest when these people are in my house, planning to take everything? 3 days later, I'm at work trying to focus on a surgery when I feel the first cramp. I ignore it, push through. But then there's another, stronger. I excuse myself and barely make it to the bathroom before I see the blood. No, not this. Not now. Gail meets me at the hospital. I'm in a different wing, being treated like any other patient. The doctor confirms what I already know. I'm losing the baby. The stress, the lack of sleep, the inability to keep food down, it was all too much. I lie in that hospital bed, empty and broken. Gail holds my hand while I cry. Everything hurts. My body, my heart, my soul. They took this from me too. Their schemes and plans and greed cost me something I didn't even know I wanted until it was gone. The doctor wants to keep me overnight for observation. Gail calls my boss to let him know, and he's understanding. Tells me to take all the time I need, but I don't want time. I want justice. The next morning, I discharge myself against medical advice. Gail tries to stop me, but I'm done being passive. These people orchestrated the loss of my child, and I'm not spending another night away from my house while they plot their next move. When we pull into my driveway, there's a moving truck outside. My stomach drops. Through the window, I can see Louis directing movers who are carrying furniture into my house. New furniture, like he's redecorating for his permanent residence. I march inside to find my living room rearranged. My grandmother's antique coffee table has been shoved into a corner, replaced by some modern monstrosity. Linda is standing there with a clipboard, checking items off a list. What are you doing? My voice comes out steadier than I feel. Linda barely glances at me. Making improvements to our home. Louis said you wouldn't mind since you're always at work anyway. Our home. The words make me see red, but Gail grabs my arm before I can do something I'll regret. She whispers that we need to be smart about this. Document everything. I pull out my phone and start recording. Linda, I'm asking you to stop having furniture delivered to my house without my permission. She turns to face the camera with that practiced smile. Oh, honey, you're being dramatic. We're just trying to make the place more comfortable for when the baby arrives. Her eyes flick to my stomach, and her smile widens. Though I suppose that's not a concern anymore, is it? Louis mentioned you had a little incident. A little incident. She's calling my miscarriage a little incident. Gail has to physically hold me back. That afternoon, while Louis is out, I go through more of his belongings. In his dresser, underneath carefully folded shirts, I find a notebook. It's like finding a serial killer's manifesto. Page after page of notes about my house value, my salary, California community property laws. There are calculations about how much he could get in a divorce settlement at different time intervals. 1 year of marriage, 25%. 2 years, 40%. If there's a child, 50% plus support. But the most chilling part is a timeline. It starts 3 months before we even met. 3 months. There's a note about researching medical conferences in California, specifically looking for young, single female doctors. My conference is circled with a note. High concentration of targets. Targets. I was never a person to him. I was a mark. The notebook also contains printed screenshots of my social media from before we met. Photos from my house hunting process. Posts about finally being able to afford my dream home after years of sacrifice. He knew exactly what I had before he ever bought me that first drink. I photograph every page, my hands shaking with rage. Gail reads over my shoulder, muttering curses I've never heard her say before. That evening, I'm in my home office when I hear Louis on the phone in the guest room. The walls in this old house are thin, and his voice carries. Mom, she found the contracts but not the other stuff. No, I moved those to the storage unit. The lawyer says we need to establish a pattern of domestic contributions. Yeah, I'll start cooking more, doing laundry, make it look good. The miscarriage actually helps our case. Shows she's unstable, can't handle stress. I'm recording everything on my phone. The miscarriage helps their case. My baby's death is just another tool in their scheme. The next day, I go back to work. I need the distraction, the reminder of who I am beyond this nightmare. But when I get to my office, there's a bouquet of flowers on my desk with a card. Thinking of you during this difficult time. Love, your mother-in-law, Linda. My assistant tells me Linda has called 6 times this morning, asking about my schedule and trying to confirm lunch plans we never made. She's creating a paper trail, making it look like we have a relationship. I throw the flowers in the trash and get to work. But throughout the day, Linda keeps calling the hospital. She tells the receptionist she's worried about her daughter-in-law's mental state. She claims I've been acting erratically since losing the baby. By lunch, rumors are spreading through the hospital about my stability. My boss pulls me aside after I finish a surgery. He's concerned but supportive. I show him the emails I found, explain the situation. He's horrified but says there's not much the hospital can do about personal matters. However, he assigns security to monitor any calls claiming to be from family members. When I get home that night, the house smells like cooking. Louis is in my kitchen, wearing an apron, making dinner. There are candles on the table. Linda is setting places for 3. We thought you might be hungry after such a long day, Louis says, playing the concerned partner. You need to take care of yourself. I notice my security camera has been moved. It's subtle, but the angle is different. Now it shows Louis cooking and cleaning, being domestic. They're creating evidence. I don't eat their food. Instead, I go upstairs and find more cameras have been adjusted. The one in the hallway now perfectly captures the guest room door, ready to document how often Louis enters and exits. They're building a case that he lives here as more than just a guest. That night, I can't sleep again. Every time I close my eyes, I see that timeline in his notebook. 3 months before we met. How many women did he research before choosing me? Was every moment of our relationship scripted? At 3 a.m., I hear movement downstairs. I creep to the top of the stairs and see Louis in my home office. He's going through my files, photographing documents, tax returns, bank statements, the deed to my house. I record him on my phone, but I know confronting him now won't help. I need to be smarter. The next morning, I move all my important documents to a safety deposit box at the bank. Gail comes with me, and we also stop at a lawyer's office. The consultation is depressing. The lawyer confirms what I feared. If Louis has established residency, the eviction process is complicated. The fact that he's been contributing to bills and receiving mail makes it worse, and his claims about harassment could work against me. Your best bet, the lawyer says, is to make him want to leave on his own. Easier said than done when leaving means giving up a potential gold mine. Over the next week, I document everything. Every moved item, every phone call to my work, every attempt to establish domestic patterns. Louis starts doing laundry laundry, ostentatiously carrying baskets past the security cameras. Linda redecorates more rooms, each change making my house feel less like home. Then Gail has an idea. If they want to play the domestic game, we can play too. She starts staying over every night, making herself visible on all the cameras. She cooks elaborate meals that we eat together, pointedly excluding Louis and Linda. She does laundry, cleans, makes it clear this is her sister's house where she's always welcome. It works to annoy them, but it's not enough. I need something bigger. That's when I remember Louis' storage unit mentioned in his phone call. He was careful to never bring the key into the house, but I know his habits. He always stops at the gym after visiting the unit, and he always uses the same locker. I still have his gym key from when we were actually happy, or when I thought we were happy. One morning while he's in the shower, I take it. The gym is mostly empty when I arrive. His locker contains the usual gym clothes, but taped to the back is another key, a storage unit key. I find the unit across town. Inside is a filing cabinet full of documents, not just about me, but about other women. 3 other women. All doctors or lawyers, all homeowners, all single. 2 in California, 1 in Oregon. Each file contains photos, financial information, social media printouts. But most disturbing are the notes about why each target didn't work out. Sarah M., parents too involved would interfere. Jennifer L., prenup demanded on second date, too cautious. Amanda K., best friend is a lawyer, too risky. And then there's my file. Perfect target. Orphaned at 16, no close family except sister. Workaholic, desperate for connection, recent home purchase, no prenup mentioned, proceed. Desperate for connection. The words sting because they're true. I was lonely, working 100-hour weeks, wanting someone to come home to. He saw that and exploited it. I photograph everything, including a contract between Louis and someone named Marcus about consultation services for asset acquisition through marriage. This isn't just a mother-son scheme, it's a business. There's also correspondence with 2 other men who are running similar cons in different states. They share tips, strategies, legal precedents. One email thread discusses how to handle difficult targets who discover the plan too early. The advice is chilling. Escalate quickly. Create chaos. Make them look unstable. The system favors stability, and you can provide that narrative. Make them look unstable, like calling my work, like stressing me until I miscarry, like documenting my erratic behavior. I'm so absorbed in reading that I don't hear the door open. When I look up, Louis is standing there. You always were too smart for your own good, he says, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. My heart pounds, but I keep my voice steady. How many women have you done this to? He shrugs. You're the first one who figured it out before the wedding. Usually by then it's too late. Community property is a beautiful thing. You unalived my baby, I say, my voice breaking. Something flickers in his eyes. Maybe regret, maybe just annoyance. That wasn't the plan. The baby would have been useful, but mom got overzealous with the stress campaign. I feel sick. Get out of my way. Can't do that. See, you've been snooping in my private property, breaking and entering, theft. That's not going to look good for your custody case. What custody case? You unalived my baby. He smiles, and it's nothing like the smile that charmed me 3 years ago. Who says there won't be another? We're still together after all, still living in the same house. Accidents happen. The threat is clear. I back away, but he moves closer. Here's what's going to happen, he says. You're going to put everything back. We're going to go home, and we're going to work out a settlement like civilized people. Maybe 30% of the house value, some monthly support. Much cheaper than what I could get if we actually married. I'll go to the police, I say. He laughs. With what? Emails about wedding planning? Me trying to establish a life with my fiancé? Good luck explaining how that's criminal. He's right. Nothing he's done is technically illegal. Immoral, calculating, cruel, but not illegal. The system isn't designed to protect people from emotional predators who know how to work within the law. But I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. That woman would have crumbled. This one has survived loss and betrayal and is still standing. You're right, I say, pulling out my phone. The police won't help, but the medical board might be very interested in knowing that Dr. Marcus Chen is running a consultation service teaching men how to defraud female doctors. And I bet the other women in these files would love to know they were targets. His face pales. Marcus is his friend from medical school, now a successful psychiatrist, one whose license would be at risk if this came out. You wouldn't, he says. Try me. I've lost my baby, my home feels like a prison, and my career is under attack. What exactly do I have left to lose? For the first time since this nightmare started, I see fear in his eyes. He didn't expect me to fight dirty. Predators rarely do. Get out, I say. Take your mother and get out of my house, today, or I start making calls. He tries to argue, but I'm already dialing. I have Sarah M. Dot's number from her file. She's a pediatric neurologist in San Diego. The phone rings once, twice. Wait, Louis says. Just wait. I hang up, but keep the phone ready. You have 6 hours. The drive home is tense. Louis follows in his car, probably trying to figure out his next move. But I have copies of everything, uploaded to multiple clouds, emailed to Gail. He can't put this genie back in the bottle. When we get to my house, Linda is on the porch with more furniture delivery people. She starts to speak, but Louis cuts her off. Pack up, he tells her. We're leaving. Her face cycles through confusion, anger, then understanding as she looks at me. You clever little 6 hours, I repeat. Or I make sure everyone knows exactly what you've been doing. Every target, every scheme, every calculated move. Your son might avoid jail, but he'll never work in finance again when this gets out. And you? How do you think your church friends in Ohio will react when they find out you've been helping your son run marriage cons? Linda's face goes white. In all her planning, she never considered that I might fight back with something other than legal channels. They pack quickly. I stand in my living room, Gail beside me, watching them load their things. My furniture is still displaced. My home still feels violated, but they're leaving. That's what matters. As Louis carries out the last box, he stops beside me. You know, I did actually care about you in the beginning. No, I say firmly. You cared about what I represented. A target, a mark, someone desperate for connection. But you made one mistake. What's that? You thought desperate meant weak. He leaves without another word. I watch their cars disappear down my street and feel something between relief and emptiness. The house is mine again, but it doesn't feel like home anymore. That night, Gail helps me move furniture back to where it belongs. We order pizza and eat it on my grandmother's antique coffee table, reclaiming my space piece by piece. I'm not naive enough to think this is over. They'll try something else, some other angle, but I have their playbook now. I know their game. A week later, I'm back at work, throwing myself into surgeries and patient care. The rumors Linda started are fading, replaced by recognition of my dedication. My boss mentions that the CEO was impressed by how I handled the situation. Not many people could maintain their professionalism under that kind of personal attack, he says. I'm in my office updating patient charts when my assistant knocks. There's a woman here to see you. Says her name is Sarah Martinez. My blood runs cold. Sarah M. from the files. Did Louis send her? Is this another angle? But when Sarah walks in, I see my own pain reflected in her eyes. You called me last week, she says, then hung up. But I saw your number, looked you up. When I saw you were a doctor in California, I had to come. Did he target you too? We talk for hours. Her story is heartbreakingly similar. The charming meeting, the whirlwind romance, the sudden engagement. But she got lucky. Her parents visited unexpectedly and overheard Louis on a phone call. They investigated and scared him off before any legal entanglements. I thought I was going crazy, she says. He made me feel like I was paranoid for questioning things. Even after he left, I wondered if I'd imagined it all. I show her the files, the evidence. She cries, but there's relief too. Validation that she wasn't crazy, wasn't paranoid. She was targeted by a professional predator. We agree to stay in touch, to reach out to the other women if we can find them. There's strength in numbers, in shared experience. Maybe we can't get justice through the courts, but we can warn others, create a network of support. 2 weeks pass. I'm slowly reclaiming my life when I get a text from an unknown number. It's a photo of a pregnancy test. Positive. The message reads, "Congratulations, Grandma. L." My hands shake as I realize what this means. Linda is pregnant, or claiming to be. At her age, it's unlikely but not impossible. Or maybe it's fake, another manipulation. Gail finds me staring at the phone. She reads the message and immediately understands. She's trying to create a connection, she says. A reason to stay in your life. But I'm done being reactive. I forward the message to my lawyer with a note. Please advise on preventing any claims of grandparent rights or family connections based on past cohabitation. That night, I can't stop thinking about my own lost pregnancy, the baby that became a tool in their scheme. I touch my empty stomach and make a decision. When I'm ready, if I decide to have children, it will be on my terms. Through adoption, IVF, whatever I choose. But it will be mine, untainted by their manipulation. My phone rings. It's Jennifer L., another woman from the files. Sarah gave her my number. She's a corporate lawyer in Portland, and she has ideas, legal ways to expose these schemes without risking defamation suits. She's drafting a warning document for professional women's networks, not naming names, but describing tactics, red flags, protection strategies. As we talk, I feel something I haven't felt in months. Hope, not just for justice, but for prevention. How many women can we save from this pain? I'm reviewing Jennifer's draft when my doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see a process server. Again, my heart sinks as I open the door. But the papers aren't what I expect. It's not Louis suing me. It's Marcus Chen, suing for defamation and theft of proprietary business information. The consultation service is apparently a legitimate business, and I've stolen trade secrets. I almost laugh at the audacity. They're trying to legitimize their con by calling it a business model. I call Jennifer immediately. She's excited rather than worried. This is perfect, she says. They've just admitted in legal documents that they run a business based on defrauding women through false romantic relationships. Discovery is going to be very interesting. She's right. In their greed to silence me, they've exposed themselves. A legitimate business has records, taxes, client lists, all things that can be subpoenaed. But the best part comes 2 days later. A different lawyer contacts me, representing Amanda K., the third woman from the files. She never fell for the con because her best friend investigated Louis early, but she's been tracking him ever since, building a case. She has evidence of 6 other women across 3 states, all targeted the same way. It's not criminal fraud because he never explicitly lies about love, Amanda's lawyer explains, but it might be conspiracy to commit intentional infliction of emotional distress. And if we can prove the business model relies on deception, we might have something. We agree to meet, all of us, Sarah, Jennifer, Amanda, and 2 other women Amanda found. We gather at my house on a Saturday, 6 strangers united by shared trauma. The stories are eerily similar. The charming meeting, the fast-paced romance, the sudden push toward marriage or cohabitation. All of us were professional women with assets. All of us were isolated in some way, orphaned, estranged from family, or simply too busy with careers to maintain close friendships. He told me I was special, one woman says, that he'd never met anyone like me. We all nod. We all heard the same lines, felt the same manufactured connection, but as we share our stories, something shifts. The shame fades, replaced by anger and determination. We're not victims, we're survivors, and we're going to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. Jennifer takes charge of the legal strategy. Amanda's friend, a private investigator, offers to dig deeper into the network. Sarah starts reaching out to women's professional organizations. I focus on documenting everything, creating a comprehensive timeline of tactics and patterns. My house, once tainted by their presence, becomes our war room. Gail jokes that it's poetic justice. The space they tried to steal is now headquarters for their downfall, but they're not going quietly. A week into our planning, I get a call from my bank. Someone tried to access my accounts using old information. The security questions they answered were things only Louis would know. The bank blocked the attempt, but the message is clear. They're not done with me. Then my car tires are slashed. No cameras catch who did it, but I know. The police take a report but say without evidence, there's nothing they can do. They're trying to make you paranoid, Gail says as we wait for the tow truck, to make you look unstable again. But I'm past that. Each attack just adds to our documentation. Jennifer advises me to file for a restraining order. It might not stick, but it creates a paper trail. The hearing is a joke. Louis shows up looking perfectly respectable, acting confused and hurt. He claims I'm harassing him, that he left voluntarily to give me space after my miscarriage. He even produces texts I supposedly sent him, threatening him if he didn't leave. They're fake, but they look real enough. The judge denies my restraining order and warns me about making false accusations. I leave the courthouse feeling defeated until Jennifer meets me outside. I was in the gallery, she says. I recorded his whole performance, including when he slipped and mentioned details about your miscarriage that you never made public. Details only someone involved in causing it would know. It's a small victory, but it matters. We're building a case, brick by brick. The breakthrough comes from an unexpected source. Marcus Chen's ex-wife reaches out. She's been watching his business dealings since their divorce and has documents we need. Financial records showing payments from multiple men, coded as consulting fees. Tax returns claiming income from relationship advisory services. Even email templates for different stages of the con. I always knew he was slimy, she says, but I never imagined this. With her evidence, Jennifer believes we have enough for a civil suit. Not criminal charges. The law hasn't caught up to emotional predators, but enough to expose them, to cost them financially, to warn others. We file jointly. 6 women seeking damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraud, and conspiracy. The media picks it up immediately. Romance, scam ring, Targets professional women becomes a headline in local papers. Louis calls me the night the story breaks. I shouldn't answer, but I do. You've ruined everything, he says. His voice is different now. Desperate. My job, my reputation, everything. You ruined yourself, I reply. I just made sure everyone knew about it. He tries to bargain, to threaten, to manipulate, but I hang up. I'm done listening to him. The next few weeks are a blur of legal meetings, media interviews, and solidarity from women I've never met. Our story resonates. Emails pour in from others who've experienced similar cons, who were too ashamed to speak up until now. But the best moment comes when I'm back at work, performing a complex surgery on a 3-year-old. I'm completely focused, in my element, saving a life. This is who I am. Not a victim, not a target, but a surgeon, a healer. After the successful surgery, I find Gail waiting in my office with champagne. Linda's pregnancy was fake, she says. Complete lie. Her own doctor confirmed it when subpoenaed. I'm not surprised, but I'm relieved. One less connection to sever. That night, I stand in my backyard where the surprise wedding was supposed to happen. The flowers are long gone, the chairs returned. It's just my space again. Gail joins me with 2 glasses of wine. In actual glasses this time, not straight from the bottle. You know what the ironic part is? I say. If he'd just been honest, if he'd actually loved me, he would have gotten everything he wanted anyway. I would have shared my life, my home, my future with him. But then he wouldn't have been who he is, Gail points out, and you wouldn't be who you are now. She's right. The woman who fell for Louis's charm was naive, lonely, desperate for connection. The woman standing here now is stronger, warier, but also more connected than ever. I have my sister, my new network of survivor friends, my career that I fought to protect. My phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. Just wanted to say thank you again. Talking to a great guy now, but taking it slow. Knowing the red flags helps. We all deserved better, but at least we can help others get better. I smile and raise my glass to the empty yard where my fake wedding almost happened. Here's to dodging bullets, exposing predators, and finding strength in the worst circumstances. The legal case will drag on for months, maybe years. Louis and Linda will probably never face real consequences beyond social shame and financial losses. The system isn't built to protect hearts from calculated assault, but we're building our own system now. A network of warned women, shared stories, documented tactics. Maybe we can't get justice in the traditional sense, but we can get something better. Prevention. My house is mine again. My career is thriving. My heart is healing. And somewhere out there, a woman is reading our story and recognizing the red flags in her own relationship. She's getting out before it's too late. That's our real victory. Not in courtrooms or headlines, but in lives saved from the kind of pain we endured. In women who will never become targets because we turned our trauma into a warning siren. I close my eyes and think of the baby I lost, the little life that became a casualty in their war against my autonomy. I'll always grieve that loss, but I'll also honor it by making sure their schemes die here, with us, exposed and defeated by the very women they thought were too desperate to fight back. Tomorrow, I have another surgery scheduled, another child's life to save, another chance to be who I really am. Not a victim, not a mark, but a doctor who refused to let anyone steal her future. I'm at the pharmacy picking up my new prescription for anxiety medication when my phone buzzes. Unknown number. I almost ignore it, but something makes me answer. Is this the doctor from the news story? The voice is young, nervous. I confirm it is, and she starts crying. Her name is Catherine. She's a software engineer in Seattle, and she thinks her boyfriend might be running the same con. The wedding venue contracts hidden in his car. The sudden pressure to add him to her mortgage. The mother who keeps mentioning community property laws. I give her Jennifer's number and tell her to document everything. As I hang up, the pharmacist hands me my medication with a knowing look. Word travels fast in a small medical community. Back home, I find Gail organizing files in what used to be Louis's makeshift office. We've turned it into command central for our growing network. 3 more women have come forward since the story broke, each with variations of the same scheme. Marcus Chen's lawyer sent another cease and desist, Gail says, waving a letter. Jennifer says to add it to the pile. The pile is getting thick. Threatening letters from Louis's new attorney, Marcus's business lawyer. Even one from Linda claiming defamation. They're panicking, throwing everything at the wall. My laptop pings with an email from Amanda's investigator friend. She's uncovered something big. Marcus Chen's consultation service has branches in 12 states, all teaching the same playbook. There's even a private forum where these men share tips and success stories. My stomach turns reading screenshots of posts celebrating secured assets and locked-in targets. I forward everything to our lawyer team. Jennifer has recruited 2 more attorneys who are working pro bono, outraged by what they're seeing. One specializes in financial fraud, the other in domestic abuse cases. They're building something bigger than a simple lawsuit. That evening, I'm reviewing surgical notes when my doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see a woman I don't recognize. She's well-dressed, nervous, clutching a folder. I'm Victoria Chen, she says when I open the door. Marcus's sister. My hand tightens on the doorknob, but she quickly adds that she's here to help. She's been suspicious of her brother's sudden wealth for years. The folder contains family photos from gatherings where Marcus brought different women, all fitting the same profile. Professional, successful, isolated. He practiced on them first, she says, showing me pictures, before he started teaching others. I tried to warn some of them, but he always made me look like the jealous sister. She has dates, names, details that corroborate our timeline. More importantly, she has recordings from family dinners where Marcus bragged about his revolutionary business model. Her hands shake as she hands over a USB drive. I should have done this sooner, she says, but he's family, you know. I kept hoping I was wrong. After she leaves, I sit in my kitchen staring at the USB drive. Family. The word feels hollow after what Louis and Linda put me through, but I understand her hesitation. It's hard to believe someone you love is capable of such calculated cruelty. The next morning brings chaos. Someone leaked the private forum screenshots to a larger news outlet. My phone won't stop ringing. Reporters want statements, other women want help, and angry men from the forum want to threaten me. I'm trying to block the 15th hostile caller when my boss appears in my office doorway. My heart sinks, expecting complaints about the disruption. Instead, he closes the door and sits down. The board met this morning, he says, about your situation. I brace myself for impact. The hospital hates controversy. We're implementing a new policy, he continues. Any attempts to interfere with our staff's personal lives through fraudulent family claims will be met with immediate legal action. We're also offering counseling services to any employee dealing with domestic manipulation. I'm stunned. He explains that 3 other female doctors have quietly come forward with similar stories of partners trying to sabotage their careers. The hospital is taking a stand. hand. That afternoon, I'm in surgery when my phone explodes with notifications. Gail texts me urgently to check the news when I'm done. I finish the procedure, my hands steady despite my racing mind. In the recovery room, I finally look. Marcus Chen has been arrested, not for the romance scams, but for tax evasion. Apparently, he never reported the income from his consultation services. The IRS doesn't care if your business model is emotional manipulation. They just want their cut. It's not the justice we wanted, but it's something. Jennifer calls, ecstatic. With Marcus in custody, they can subpoena his full client list. Every man he taught, every successful con, all of it will come to light. But Louis and Linda are still out there, and they're getting desperate. That night, I'm home alone for the first time in weeks. Gail had a work emergency, and I insisted I'd be fine. I'm making tea when I hear the back door rattle. My security system is armed, but the sound continues. I grab my phone, ready to call 911 when I see him through the window. Louis, trying to use his old key. The locks were changed months ago, but he's fumbling with the door like muscle memory. I start recording and call out that he's trespassing. He jerks back, caught. Through the glass, I can see he looks terrible. Unshaven, clothes wrinkled, eyes wild. I just want to talk, he shouts. You've ruined my life. I tell him to leave or I'm calling the police. He starts ranting about how I've cost him everything. His job, his reputation, his relationship with his mother. Linda apparently blames him for the failure of their plan. She won't even talk to me, he says, and there's something broken in his voice. Says I should have controlled you better. The irony is staggering. Their scheme fell apart and they're turning on each other. I keep recording as he spirals, admitting things he probably shouldn't. How they picked me specifically because I had no parents. How they studied my work schedule to know when to strike. How the pregnancy was supposed to be their insurance policy. But you had to fight back, he spits. You couldn't just be grateful someone wanted you. There it is, the core of their delusion, that I should be grateful for manipulation, thankful for theft, appreciative of abuse. I tell him he has 30 seconds to leave before I call the police. He kicks my garden gnome on the way out, a pathetic final gesture. I save the recording and forward it to Jennifer. More evidence for the pile. The next few days blur together. More women come forward. The media attention intensifies. Marcus's client list is leaked, revealing prominent men across multiple industries. The forum goes dark, but screenshots are already everywhere. I'm at the hospital, between surgeries, when Sarah calls. She's been contacted by a documentary filmmaker who wants to tell our story. Not a sensationalized version, but a real exploration of how these predators operate and how we fought back. It could help so many women, she says. Show them the red flags, the tactics, the way forward. I agree to think about it. Part of me wants to move on, to forget this chapter. But another part knows that silence is what allowed this to flourish. These men counted on our shame, our desire to just make it go away. That weekend, our support group meets at my house again. We're up to 12 women now, all at various stages of recovery and legal battles. Jennifer updates us on the lawsuits. Amanda's investigator has traced the network to other states. Sarah shares that she started dating again, slowly, with her eyes wide open. I actually told him about all this on our third date, she says. Figured if he ran, better to know early. And? Someone asks. He asked how he could help, she says, smiling, then showed me his credit report and said I could run any background check I wanted. We laugh, but it's tinged with sadness. The fact that we need to be this cautious, this guarded, is its own tragedy. But we're learning to navigate this new reality together. I'm cleaning up after everyone leaves when I find a note slipped under my front door. My blood runs cold until I read it. It's from my neighbor, saying she saw Louis lurking around last week and called the police. She's been watching out for me. Community. Real community. Not the fake family Linda and Louis tried to force. It's growing around me in ways I never expected. Monday brings a breakthrough. Marcus's tax evasion case has opened doors for a federal investigation into fraud. Apparently, teaching people how to commit fraud for profit is itself a crime. Who knew? Jennifer is practically vibrating with excitement when she calls. They want to interview all of us. Build a RICO case. This could shut down the entire network. RICO. Like they're the mob, which in a way they are. Organized crime in suits and wedding rings instead of cement shoes. I agree to the interview. So do the others. We spend the next week in federal buildings, telling our stories to stone-faced agents who take meticulous notes. They show us evidence we hadn't seen, connections we hadn't made. This is bigger than we imagined. One agent, a woman about my age, pulls me aside after my interview. Off the record, she says, "You've done something incredible here. Most victims never come forward. You've given us a roadmap to take these guys down." Victims. The word still stings, but I'm learning to own it. We were victims, but we're not anymore. The investigation means Louis and Linda are under scrutiny too. Their assets are frozen pending the outcome. Linda's attempt to return to Ohio is blocked when they discover she's been running her own version of the con there, targeting elderly widowers. I'm in my office when Gail texts me the news. Linda's been arrested at the Columbus airport. Fraud charges related to 3 men she was courting simultaneously, all recent widowers with substantial estates. Gail texts, "The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, except the tree is also rotten." That night, I perform an emergency surgery on a 6-year-old who fell from a tree. It's complex, requiring total focus. For 4 hours, nothing exists but my hands, my instruments, and saving this child's life. When I finally step out, successful, the child's parents cry with relief. This is why I became a doctor. This is what Louis and Linda tried to steal from me. Not just my house or money, but my purpose. My phone has dozens of messages. The news about Linda has broken. Louis has been brought in for questioning. The documentary filmmaker wants to start interviews. 3 more women have reached out for help, but right now, I just lean against the wall and breathe. Tomorrow will bring more chaos, more battles, more women needing support. Tonight, I saved a life. That's enough. The next morning, I'm home making coffee when I see the for sale sign go up across the street. The neighborhood gossip network quickly informs me that Louis's aunt lived there. She's selling because of the family embarrassment. I feel a twinge of something. Not sympathy exactly, but recognition of the collateral damage. How many family members are discovering their loved ones are predators? How many are choosing to believe the women coming forward? My phone rings. It's the CEO of the hospital. She wants to meet about something important. In her office, she's direct. "We want you to head up a new initiative, educating medical professionals about financial predators and domestic manipulation. Your story has opened our eyes to a blind spot in how we protect our staff." I'm speechless. She continues, explaining they want to create workshops, resources, support systems, not just for doctors, but for all hospital staff who might be vulnerable. "You'd split your time between surgery and this program," she says, "if you're interested." I accept immediately. This is how change happens, not just through lawsuits and arrests, but through education education and prevention. That afternoon, I'm meeting with Jennifer about the federal case when she drops another bombshell. Louis's trying to make a deal. He wants to testify against Marcus and the network in exchange for leniency. The prosecutors are considering it, she says. He knows where all the bodies are buried, metaphorically speaking. I have mixed feelings. Part of me wants him to face full consequences. Another part recognizes that his testimony could save dozens of women from future cons. What do you think? Jennifer asks. I think about the woman I was 3 years ago, lonely and overworked, falling for practice charm. I think about the baby I lost, the stress that stole that possibility. I think about the 12 women in my living room last weekend, supporting each other through shared trauma. If it stops even one more woman from going through this, I say, then let him talk. The investigation accelerates after that. Louis's testimony is damning. He details the training sessions, the target selection process, the psychological manipulation tactics. He even provides recordings of Marcus teaching classes on asset acquisition through romantic leverage. It's horrifying and validating in equal measure. Everything we suspected, confirmed by one of the perpetrators. But the best part is what happens next. The story goes national, then international. Women from around the world start sharing similar experiences. The romance scam hashtag trends for days. A week later, I'm preparing for another surgery when my assistant mentions something odd. There's a man in the waiting room, says he's here to apologize, won't leave until he talks to you. Security footage shows a young man, maybe 25, looking miserable. I don't recognize him, but something about his expression makes me curious. Between surgeries, I meet him in a conference room with security present. He introduces himself as Jonathan, one of Marcus's students. I never went through with it, he says quickly, but I paid for the course, learned the techniques. I was desperate, in debt, thought it was a victimless crime. He explains that seeing our story made him realize what he almost became. He's here to provide evidence, to apologize, to ask how he can help make amends. I study him carefully. He seems genuine, but then again, he was trained to seem genuine. Give everything to the FBI, I tell him, then get therapy. Real therapy, not Marcus's twisted version. And if you ever even think about using those techniques, remember that you're destroying real people with real lives. He nods, leaves his contact information for the investigators, and goes. Gail later asks if I believe his remorse was real. Does it matter? I reply. He's providing evidence. That's what counts. The documentary filmmaker starts interviews the following week. Sitting in my living room, cameras rolling, I tell the whole story again, but this time feels different. I'm not just recounting trauma. I'm creating a resource, a warning, a guide for others. Sarah goes next, then Jennifer, then Amanda. Each story adds another layer to the pattern. The filmmaker is respectful, letting us tell our truths without sensationalism. During a break, she mentions that several men from the network have threatened to sue if the documentary airs. Good, Jennifer says. Discovery will be fun. That evening, I'm back at the hospital for a night shift when I get an unexpected visitor. The 6-year-old I operated on weeks ago is back for a follow-up. She's healing beautifully, running around the examination room while her parents try to corral her. She wants to be a doctor now, her mother tells me. Keeps saying she wants to help people like you helped her. I high-five my little patient, telling her she'll make an excellent doctor someday. This is what matters. This is what they couldn't take from me. The federal case moves forward. More arrests are made. The network starts to crumble as men flip on each other for better deals. Linda's trial for elder fraud begins. She's facing serious time. I'm asked to testify at her trial. Sitting in that courtroom, looking at the woman who tried to destroy my life, I feel empty. She looks smaller somehow, older. Without Louis beside her, she's just a bitter woman who thought she was entitled to other people's lives. My testimony is clinical, factual. I describe the emails, the plans, the coordination. I talk about the miscarriage without emotion, just stating facts. The prosecutor later thanks me for my composure. How do you stay so calm? She asks. I'm a surgeon, I reply. I learned long ago to separate feelings from necessary actions. The verdict comes back guilty on all counts. Linda will spend her remaining years in federal prison. Justice of a sort. Louis's cooperation earns him a reduced sentence. 2 years instead of 10. It feels insufficient, but Jennifer reminds me that his testimony has led to dozens of arrests. The network is destroyed. Plus, she adds, he'll be a registered fraud offender. Good luck finding any woman who won't Google that. The documentary airs 6 months later. The response is overwhelming. Women share their stories, recognize the patterns, escape their own situations. We've created what we hoped for, a warning system. I'm in my new office, preparing for a workshop on financial safety for medical residents, when my phone rings. It's Catherine from Seattle, the software engineer who called me that day in the pharmacy. I wanted to thank you, she says. I got out, kept my house. He's facing charges now. I couldn't have done it without your story. We talk for a while. She's joining a support group, rebuilding her life. Another save. Another woman who won't become a statistic. The workshop is packed. Young doctors, eager and vulnerable, taking notes as I explain the red flags. I tell them about love bombing, about financial boundary testing, about isolation tactics. I make them promise to Google everyone they date, to trust their instincts, to never let anyone make them feel guilty for protecting themselves. Your career, your assets, your life, I tell them, these are yours. Anyone who truly loves you will respect that. After the workshop, a young resident approaches me. She thinks her boyfriend might be exhibiting some of these behaviors. We talk through her options. I give her resources. Another potential save. This is my life now. Surgery in the morning, saving lives. Workshops and consultations in the afternoon, saving futures. It's exhausting, but fulfilling in ways I never expected. Gail joins me for dinner at my house. My real home, fully mine again. We've redecorated, exorcising the ghosts of Louis and Linda's presence. My grandmother's coffee table sits proudly in its original spot. You know what's funny? Gail says, pouring wine. You're actually less alone now than you were before Louis. She's right. I have my network of survivors, my colleagues who support this work, my neighbors who watch out for me. Real connections, not manufactured ones. My phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. She's engaged for real this time. Her fiancé signed a prenup without being asked. Insists she keep her house in her name only. He says he's marrying me, not my assets, she writes. Novel concept, right? I smile, raising my glass to toast her happiness. We've all learned to love differently now. Cautiously, but not cynically.